With CA's new FLC chart, and with the confirmation that there's going to be more DLC and FLC after it, it's leaving us with that juicy opportunity to speculate. Don't you just love doing it? We also know that lore packs are the only thing remaining for Total War Warhammer 2, so I'm going to start making multiple videos talking about the possible lore packs we could be seeing. And of course, the first is the Grim and the Grom. I can just see everyone in the comments right now. They can't use the Grim twice because it's already been used in the Grim and the Grave. Honestly, I don't think CA would give a shit, okay, if they use that word twice. Of course, this is going to be a cross-game lore pack between the High Elves and the Greenskins. This lore pack, of course, would tie in with the Greenskins rework that we are all looking forward to, which CA have confirmed they have big plans for. Let's start with the High Elves. If there's one elf alive that is known for killing Greenskins, it's Elfarion. From the Greenskins that invaded Ulf 1, Elfarion has been known for purging all of them. As for starting locations, it would be an absolute bore in my opinion if Elfarion starts in Ulf 1. We already have Alarielle and Tyrion there fighting Dark Elves, so throwing in another High Elf Lord might be just a bit meh. However, then again, all Bretonnian Lords start in Bretonnia, and same for the Empire, so it's possible that it might happen. Other possible starting locations would be possibly near Bretonnia, or near Lord Master Monday. Not sure if that's lore friendly, but shoving him on Ulf 1 might cause the island to sink. Then again, if we do get Elfarion, it is most likely that he is going to be in Ulf 1. His settlement is already there with his banner in game, basically already located there. But moving away from campaign, since basically he would just be another High Elf Lord fighting for the Vortex, possibly with some submissions trying to stop Grom's wag, how will he play in battle? Well, looking at Elfarion on the tabletop, we can sort of get a vibe about what he might be like. It does say Elfarion was not really an amazing lord to take, but he did rely on fast damage and his magic. He also had 3 items: the Fang Sword of Elfarion, the Helm of Yevessa, and the Talisman of Hoeth. Now, I can only speculate about what Elfarion might be like and what these abilities might do, but I'm going to say what I would like to see. First, I feel Elfarion should be a mix of Teclis and Tyrion. Not a good fighter as Tyrion, but not as good as caster as Teclis, but can stand his ground more in combat than Teclis, and of course offer more abilities on the battlefield than Tyrion. Almost like a sweet spot between the two. Of course, Elfarion would be our second flying lord. We already have Alarielle on her pigeon, so having another lord on a flying mount will be a very nice addition. Of course, Elfarion would be different to Alarielle in disguise, since he would be able to contest it with Stormwing, actually doing more death from above Alpha Strike sort of playstyles than Alarielle's sort of passive and flying away and trying to mitigate all sorts of damage coming towards her. So let's talk about Elfarion's spells. Now we know Elfarion is a caster, but what lore of magic would he have access to? I tried to find anywhere if it states what spells he used, but I couldn't find shit. So personally, I think if Elfarion's going to compete with the picks of Alarielle and Teclis and Tyrion, he really needs to bring some power to the table. I feel Elfarion should of course have access to the Law of Light, maybe even some free Vortex spells like Banishment, possibly giving even Elfarion a mixed Law of Magic similar to Teclis, whilst not having as powerful spells as him. Of course, I would love to see Elfarion maybe offer the High Elf something different in the Law of Magic when compared to Alarielle and Teclis, since that might make him actually a viable pick. Imagine if he could take things like Spirit Leech or Flock of Doom, for example, but of course I don't really think that's lore friendly. Either way, if we do get Elfarion, his spells must offer something different to the other High Elf Lords, otherwise he's just going to be a very similar pick. Now, Elfarion of course would be immune to Psychology, cause fear and terror on Stormwing with decent armor piercing damage. Maybe he could also be a weapon specialist with a similar ability to Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers, where he can choose to fight with his spear or his sword depending on what target he's going up against, for example anti-infantry or bonus versus large. Moving on to Elfarion's items, his Fang Sword of Elfarion should be an ability that can be used with a cooldown that increases armor piercing damage and melee attack. The Helm of Yevessa should be either a buff to nearby troops in a radius that increases their melee attack and leadership, maybe melee defense as well depending on how powerful it should be, or it should be an ability that gives Elfarion regen. I know that of course might not be lore friendly, but the guy's got to compete with the other High Elf Lords, so he needs, whatever buffs he can get. And lastly, his Talisman of Hoeth, possibly something better than Arcane Conduit, giving him more Winds of Magic and recharge rate. That's quite a lot of information there, but the more I read about Elfarion, it really makes me want to see him in Total War Warhammer. Of course he gets fucked in the end times, but I think we really should see him. I mean, even if he's an FLC lord that comes with the Greenskins rework, I just really think he deserves to be in the game. He's such a cool lord. Anyway, let's move on to the High Elf units we might be seeing in this lore pack. Well, CA have been a bit funny about lore packs since some get more units than others. I mean, for example, take the Lizardmen versus Skaven. They seem, the Lizardmen seem to get a little bit more love than the Skaven in that lore pack, but hey ho, who cares. But I'm going to tell you what I would like to see. First of all, I would love to see Loven Skycutters. These units look fucking sick, and I really think they would fit nicely into the army. Now, I know High Elves already have a lot of air superiority with their dragons, their eagles, and their archers denying the sky, but usually they don't have anything to sort of take advantage of that other than Alariel being safe. These Skycutters would fit the air missile cav, being very fast, and an early skirmishing scout unit, allowing you to see what your enemy brings. Now, of course, in combat, they would be a piece of shit, very susceptible to any sort of melee attacks, even from weak anti-large spearman units with no armor piercing, and pretty much when they do get in combat, they don't even have much mass to get out. Maybe costing around to 600-700 gold. Moving on, we have White Lion Chariots, a unit that if we do not get at some point, I'm going to be really mad, because I really want to see what beautiful lion models look like in game. White Lion Chariots, however, I would like to see function different to normal chariots, basically having less charge bonus than normal chariots, but more armor piercing and melee attack, so when they're in combat, they can actually put the hurt down on any unit than just relying on that cycle charge to do damage, and of course, it would differ them to the normal chariots the High Elves have. Costing perhaps around 1,600 gold, an expensive unit, but one that really is worth the money. Last, I want to talk about mounts. Now, this could be part of the DLC or just something CA does anyway, because let's be honest, we rarely ever see Flamespire or Frostheart Phoenixes in multiplayer, simply because they have very little armor and can be shot down really easily. Well, I would love to see them become mounts for nobles, or maybe even casters to offer more protection than horses or chariots. This would of course still have all the abilities of the Phoenixes, but maybe having a little bit better stats due to them being on a being a mount and not a unit on its own, which might actually make them a bit more of a viable pick than just them being that odd one pick that you sometimes pick against random races. That's my High Elves done. Let's move over to Greenskins. Now, of course, we've got Grom the Fat of the Misty Mountains, that thick boy. Now, Grom, of course, is the only Greenskin to successfully invade Ulthuan. Of course, he is a gobbo, a thick gobbo, and of course Grom would fit perfectly into Total War Warhammer 2. Not just because of, he's known of invading the New World, but because another Goblin Legendary Lord would really balance the Greenskins nicely. He would also fit as well as an FLC Lord for the Greenskin rework, and also since he will make the Vortex campaign a little bit more exciting. What I mean by this is that if we have a look at his potential starting locations, of course the one that fits perfectly is in Ulthuan in Yevessa. Of course this would be nice in the Mortal Empires campaigns for the Greenskins to have a starting location somewhere a bit more exciting in the New World, and for the High Elves it's going to put a lot more pressure on you in the early game in the Vortex or Mortal Empires than just protecting the island from the Dark Elves. Grom in multiplayer or in battle is going to be a really fun one. He has the Axe of Grom and his Lucky Banner as his items or his war gear, and I feel like we can easily make them into abilities. So first of all, Grom is on a chariot with 3 wolves pulling him along. Poor them, he looks like quite a fat fuck. Of course, he would have anti-infantry and armor piercing being on this chariot. He also has regen from eating all that troll meat, gaining them gains. But this of course might give him weakness to fire, unless CA decide that it might be a bit too much of a weakness for him. Also, not sure if that regen takes place on his chariot, but I'm sure it could. We then have his Axe of Grom, either a passive ability or an item, basically giving him magical attacks, high armor piercing since he's cut through many of the elves' pointy ats. I don't think it will have a buff versus high elves only, but it might give him very high armor piercing damage if it's an ability that can be popped with a cooldown, making him of course more efficient against races with high armor like chaos or high elves again. This then leads us onto his luck banner with Niblet, the little cherub goblin on his chariot. This banner could either be a ward save ability that gives him damage resistance, which would allow him to, deal better damage to spearman spam, and could also provide leadership to nearby goblin, or maybe immune to psychology like the Demogoggery ability the Blight Scab play pack have, which would be amazing for goblin units since they have shit leadership. Moving away from Grom, let's talk about greenskin units in this lore pack. Even though Grom is a focused goblin army, I'd still like to see some orcs in there. The first is the Colossal Squig. We have seen modders put this into perspective, and to be honest, it looks amazing. Basically, the Colossal Squig would be a high armor piercing anti-infantry unit with very little armor, but fast as fuck to differ from giants. With maybe rampage, maybe a little bit cheaper than giants, but more deadly in combat. But they can be shut down because they have little health, and basically would be shut down by, having no armor, and missiles would basically do a lot of damage to them. We then have the Goblin Spear Chucker, a unit that the Greenskins need so fucking badly. Greenskins struggle with large units, so to have an artillery unit that has bonus versus large and can put pressure on armies that rely on large units to do the lifting would be really nice, and it might make Greenskins more viable against armies such as Tomb Kings and Vampire Counts. Lastly, and this is where we talk about the Orcs, I feel one unit we really need to have is a Regiment of Renown Black Orcs unit, the Immortals. I know we already have the Crimson Killers, but come on, who the fuck ever picks those guys? But I really want the Immortals to have crazy stats with armor piercing values higher than any other units in the game, and also the Guardian ability for near-eye heroes and lords, giving them physical resistance, possibly even making Grimgor a little bit more viable, but we all know he needs a little bit more than just a bit of physical resistance to become a viable lord pick. Anyway, that's where this video ends. I really would like to see this lore pack as I think it really fits perfectly into the game. If you've made it this far, you're a true Grim and Grom fan. You've heard what I would like to see, and if we ever do get this lore pack, let me know if you agree. Or if you disagree, please let me know what you would like to see, since I love hearing what people say. Maybe you think I've missed abilities or units, so please let me know. The next lore pack video I'll talk about is the Skaven and Empire possibility, so look forward to that. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.